This short video is about using the Lee Library databases. So you don't need to log in directly if you don't want. You can start with the Crowder College page, go to the Current Students tab, and just click on Lee Library. I want to point out this chat box here in particular, because if you do have concerns or needs, you can always visit with a librarian. What's really nice is you can just type your question in here and they get back to you very, very quickly. I like to begin with the search box on the first page. So let's say I am interested in researching immigration policy, specifically relative to DACA. It'll open a new window and show you your search results. Now you still don't have to be logged in to see these search results. You will need to log in when you actually select one of these. So, for example, if I were to click on the first article, it's going to prompt me to log in with my username and password. It happens to be saved on my computer. Makes things pretty easy. But once you've selected an article, it will bring up an abstract and all of the documentation information you need. The abstract is basically a summary, so you can read over this paragraph and see what the article is basically about. The other thing I'll point out on this page, when you do find an article that is useful, you can click the Cite button right here. That will bring up for you citation information for your Works Cited page. Now you'll need to scroll through because there are many different options available to you, but eventually you'll get to the MLA option, and then it's pretty easy to just copy and paste this over into a Word document. For me, I hold down Command-C. That's a shortcut on my computer. And then I can simply use Command-V to paste. Okay, but let's go back for a moment to the Lee Library. I've put in my search here and it opened in a new window with the results. You can see though that 12,336 is far too many results, so we want to bring that down a little bit. There are a couple things you might want to do, especially if your back's up against the wall in terms of time. You notice how the PDF is available. There's a full text available. We can limit our results, and you can see here what kind of limit that will provide. But if you click on full text, it brings us down to 13,000. You can also click on peer reviewed, which is a good idea because that means you're getting a quality source. That brings us down to 1,384. That's still quite a bit if you're interested in rummaging through them all and looking for some good sources. So the next place I usually go is to the publication date. You want relatively new information, and since this has been an area of great concern since Trump took presidency, we'll type in 2016, 2020 for our publication years. And let's see if that doesn't bring it down from 1,300 a little bit. 1,500. Did that number get larger? I don't know how that's possible. Let's try 2017. 1,335. There are some other things we can do to bring it down a little. We could get rid of 20 sources just by clicking the English box. That's not going to be a huge change when we're talking about 1,300 entries. The other thing you might do is consider what area you want these to be covering. So when we talk about places, the United States, the Mexican-American border, California, Texas, New York State. So if I am interested in maybe the Mexican-American border in Texas and California, maybe I want to focus on the Southwest specifically, I can click Apply. And that limits it to only 14 sources. 14 might even be too small. I like to be closer to 100 when I'm looking through. But you can always check a box on my tag. That brings it down to 6. So it really depends on how you want to limit your searches. I'm going to unclick this box. And for locations and places, I'm going to expand this out a little bit more. That's interesting. So you can use these over here to shorten up your lists pretty easily, so you get a little tighter focus in terms of publications. Let's bring this back out to 2015 for a moment. Brings us out to 19 sources. Okay. I do want to point out one thing in terms of your works cited, in case this is new information for you. Let's say we have 4 entries here in our works cited. You want to use hanging indent. You'll want to go to your paragraph option, and under special, select hanging, and the 0.5 option will work best. That automatically brings everything into a hanging indent format. We want it all to be double spaced, so it's pretty handy, easy way to put together your works cited page. All right, but this was a brief introduction to the lead library databases. Just a little bit further, let me take you to the advanced search. The advanced search can come in handy as you get further and further into your research. So I started with immigration policy and DACA. If I have other keywords that I'd like to look at here, perhaps the word camp. It's a term that's been used to describe the detention centers. I can type in detention center itself. This gives me a few other words to look at when I'm doing my search. You can also notice the difference between and or. And means that it must contain the word immigration policy and the word camp. I could change this. Let's see, I think I need to delete it and just add another or. If I want these words side by side, I can put quotes around detention center. Now it'll look for those words back to back in the article. If I click the word not, maybe there's a term I want to excuse from my searches. Maybe I find that all of my searches are coming up with a certain word and I wasn't looking for that topic. But I don't think I'll have that problem with this topic. Now when I conduct my search, we have 5,086,256. You need to go back through, do all the same steps we did before, and it will bring it down. Move down here to my publication dates, looking at 2016 to 2020. I'm specifically interested in the English language. The other thing I might want to do with my advanced search, so I want to get rid of the word camp. And put detention center back in. I'm sure I was getting a lot of hits just for the word camp using that previous method. $529. Now we're down to something reasonable. 167. They're all in English. Let's see how many of these have been published in the last 5 years. 142. You can actually work with that pretty well. If you'd like to bring it down a little more, you can click the United States, Mexican-American border region, even with Mexico, North America, that might be an interesting one to touch on, and Texas. Now we have only 10. That's a pretty sharp focus right there. So hopefully this is helpful to you. What I would do next is look at your titles and see if you can find one that looks interesting. Child migration and transnational violence in Central North America. This looks like it might speak to the purpose of so many people wanting to migrate to the United States. We're looking at unaccompanied immigrant children, crimes against children. This is exactly the sort of information I'm looking for my research paper. So here's an abstract in English language. I can read through that. And I can look at the full PDF just by clicking on one button. So anyway, we begin with the abstract and then we get into the actual article. There's an introduction to the article. And then we get into some more of the content here in just a moment. Violence in the Americas. So you can download this, you can print this out, you can do whatever you like. So hopefully that is helpful to you, but begin with the Lee Library, and if you have questions, again, don't forget to click on that chat box. Librarians love to hear from us, so good luck.